I welcome you all to the session of hydraulic machines, and in continuation of my last lecture on different types of pump casing, today we will discuss the same topic and then we will go to discuss about different pump efficiencies. Okay. So, if we can recall that in the last class we have discussed about the need of having pump casing, and then probably we have seen three different types of pump casing which are used mainly for the radial flow pump. So, if we try to write the pump casing, and the pump three different types: volute casing, then the second one is vortex casing, and the third one is the diffuser casing. Okay. If we try to recall, say I will be discussing about the first one, that is volute casing. Right. If we just try to recall what is the purpose of having casing. So, just I am writing the pump casing. The casing provides hydraulic flow path, right. Provides hydraulic flow path, number 1, and this not only provides flow path, this not only guide the water coming out from the impeller to the delivery pipe, but it also allow to have conversion, that is it allows to raise pressure of the fluid being handled by the pump. Okay. So, these two are the main, I can say, functions of the pump casing. So, it provides hydraulic flow path, definitely it allows water which is coming out or any fluid which is coming out from the impeller outlet to move to the delivery pipe following certain path, and then while it is transported through the pump casing, it is also important to note that there will be increase in pressure by arresting the kinetic energy of the fluid leaving the pump impeller. Okay. Now, if we talk about volute casing, just if we try to draw the impeller of a radial flow pump. So, this pump is rotating in this direction, and like this. So, this is what is volute casing. In fact, we have briefly touched upon this part in the last lecture. So, what is the meaning of volute? Volute is basically a spiral or scroll shape form. So, a spiral shape form or scroll shape form which is connected to the delivery pipe. So, if it is delivery pipe, so this is delivery line. Okay. So, this is a volute casing. If you try to look at it, what we can see, when water is coming out from the impeller outlet, right, we need to provide flow path of the water which is coming out from the impeller, and in the direction of flow path we can see there is a gradually increasing flow area, and it is because of this reason we can arrest the kinetic energy, we can kill the kinetic head and we can convert into the pressure head, and we can target, we can meet the demand of the system in which pump is installed. Okay. We have also discussed that using this particular type of casing, that is volute casing, we have different other problems. First is, the main problem is, you can see as if the flow path is mimicking a flow scenario through a conduit having sudden expansion. That means, in the direction of flow path, area is gradually increasing. If it is flow through a sudden expansion, we have studied from fluid mechanics that there is a probability of having formation of eddies, vortices. If eddies or vortices are formed in the flow path, that is what I have discussed in the last lecture, those eddies will sustain. For the survival of those eddies, they will try to extract energy from the main flow. So, our objective was to kill the kinetic energy and to convert into the pressure. Now, when eddies are formed, here eddies will be formed, here eddies will be formed. So, these eddies will try to extract energy from the main flow, as a result of which the efficiency of the pump, rather the net head which you are expecting from the pump will not be rather will be reduced, and this is not favorable for the pump operation point of view. That means, using volute casing, one problem is that significant loss of energy through the formation of eddies, right. So, this part we keep in mind. So, there will be a loss of energy due to the formation of eddies, not only formation, because eddies will form definitely for their survival, eddies will sustain, and while they are trying to sustain in the flow in the course of flow, they will try to extract energy from the main flow, as a result of which it will distract, it will reduce the efficiency. Okay. So, now question is, we will definitely go to the next one, that is the vortex casing, but at least we should know then volute casing is the first casing, then probably identifying the problem associated with this type of casing, we should go for different design. But volute casing is also, it is eddies are formed, that is there, but it is not a case that the volute casings are not used. These casings are used in applications where we need high head. So, basically if I use different color, that this casing for high head, Okay. So, for the high head these casings are used for. Okay. If we now go to the next one, so that means this volute casing you can understand that since area is gradually increasing. So, we can definitely arrest the kinetic head energy and we can convert into the pressure head. So, this is really suitable for high head and when eddies currents are eddies are formed. Okay. But at the same time at least our target should be to modify the design by how the formation of eddies can be prevented and which in turn will enhance the pump efficiency. So, the next one is the vortex casing. So, if we go to the next one, vortex casings. Again if we try to draw right. Okay. So, this is the vortex casing. You can see if we now try to compare this casing with the previous one, that is the volute casing, only one extra thing we can notice, we can observe from this schematic is that there is an additional ring. Okay. So, this additional ring see this additional ring is there, this ring is placed in between the pump casing and the impeller, right. So, if we try to look that as if a circular chamber is there in between the pump casing. So, this is pump casing. This is pump casing. So, this additional circular chamber which is placed in between the pump casing and impeller, which is used to minimize, to kill, to reduce the eddies, rather formation of eddies to the extent possible, right. So, that means the impeller will be rotating in this direction, that is in the counterclockwise direction. Pump casing is there, that scroll shape outer part is there, but in between pump casing and impeller a circular chamber is placed, and if we place this circular chamber will increase the pump efficiency by reducing the formation of eddies to the extent possible. Okay. So, that means the circular chamber or circular shape object which is placed in between the pump casing and impeller will kill the eddies which will be formed, and if the eddies are destroyed or killed, then the pump efficiency can be increased, and that is why this is known as vortex casing. So, vortex casing again are used in different applications, right. So, the special feature of the vortex casing is that increases pump efficiency by formation of eddies to the extent possible. Okay. So, our objective was somehow eddies will be formed because of this geometrical configuration of the flow path that is provided, that is the gradually increasing cross sectional area of the flow path, but our objective should be to reduce the formation of eddies to the extent possible. If we can do it, we can increase the efficiency of the pump, and that is done by the vortex casing. Okay. So, basically you can see that using this vortex casing the eddies are reduced. Okay. And now I am talking about pump efficiency. If you try to find out, I am underlining this word efficiency. We will be discussing that which type of efficiency can be increased. Definitely always a common answer is that overall efficiency, fine, we will be discussing soon. But now providing this circular chamber inside the pump impeller, again it is basically we need to have proper design, and also it involves cost. So, we need to keep in mind that the cost associated with the special arrangement should be justified by the increase in efficiency, rather relative increase in efficiency if we compare the performance of vortex casing with the volute casing. Okay. So, next one is the diffuser ring. So, if I write diffuser casing, let me draw the diffuser casing. This is very important. I will be drawing this casing. Okay. So, this is the diffuser casing. Special feature is that impeller is there, but impeller is surrounded by a wheel which is known as guide wheel. So, impeller is surrounded by a wheel which is known as guide wheel. So, this is the, and I have shown over here, that is the guide vanes. Okay. So, the guide wheels, if you try to look at, the guide wheels consist of few stationary vanes. So, these vanes which is shown over here by green color are the stationary vanes. So, the first thing is that the impeller is surrounded by a wheel which is known as guide wheel. So, I will be writing this is guide wheel, and then this wheel is having a few stationary blades, and the blades are mounted in a such a way that the water leaving or water coming out from the impeller outlet will be passing through the passage between two consecutive guide vanes, and the guide vanes, the shape of the guide vanes, guide vanes is that this area between two consecutive guide vanes is kind of diffuser. So, basically in the direction of flow area is gradually increasing, right. So, what I am telling, impeller is surrounded by a wheel, this wheel is having a few stationary blades or vanes which are known as guide vanes. The space between two consecutive guide vanes is having gradually increasing area towards the outlet. Okay. So, while water is coming out from the impeller and entering into the guide vanes, I mean into the passage between two consecutive guide vanes, and in the direction of flow through the passage between two guide vanes, there is gradual increasing area. So, that means in the direction of flow through this passage, velocity will be reduced, pressure will be increased. Okay. So, that is the objective. Now, question is, very important thing is that the vane angle, that is very important. So, what I am writing? I am writing guide wheel consisting, rather I will be writing in a different way, is having a few stationary blades or vanes, right, and these stationary blades and vanes are known as guide vanes. Okay. Now, that is the thing we have understood, and the area between two consecutive guide vanes is designed in such a way that, so rather I can say passage, flow passage flow path between two consecutive guide vanes is designed in such a way that it will be having gradually increasing cross sectional area, right. So, this is very important, and what is important to know that the water leaving the impeller will now move into this flow path, and while moving into this flow path between two consecutive guide vanes, area is gradually increasing, velocity will fall, pressure will increase. Most important that is that the outlet, the inlet angle of the guide vane should coincide with the velocity of water leaving the impeller at the outlet, otherwise there will be separation loss and shock loss. So, which is most important at this point, you should know that angle of the guide vane at the inlet, rather inlet guide vane angle should coincide with the absolute velocity of the water leaving the impeller, otherwise there will be separation loss. So, this is the diffuser casing. This you can understand that ultimately the net energy conversion takes place when water is moving through the passage between two consecutive guide vanes. So, it is not expected that using this type of casing will be able to develop high head, and that is why this diffuser casing is suitable for low or lower head. used for lower head. Okay. So, this is very important at this point you should know. Okay. So, now we have discussed about different types of pump casing, right, volute casing, vortex casing and diffuser casing. We have identified the problem that was there with the volute casing, and that problem can be minimized using vortex casing, and then another type of casing is there, that is known as diffuser casing. And using diffuser casing you can see that it is not possible to have development of high head. Now, one important thing that I should tell you, that the name of the pump is normally done on the basis of the type of casing it uses, right. So, name of the pump is done on the basis of the type of casing it uses. So, basically if the pump uses diffuser casing, then it is diffuser pump or turbine pump by its common name. If it uses volute casing, then it is volute pump. If it uses vortex casing, then it is known as vortex pump. Okay. So, that is what we have discussed today. Okay. So, with this I will move to the next part of this discussion of today's lecture, that is the pump efficiencies. But before I go to discuss about pump efficiencies, again I would like to tell you two important points. First of all, that casing, I mean it is again a mechanical part that should be designed properly. Most importantly for the diffuser casing, the angle at the inlet of the guide vane, inlet angle of the guide vane should coincide with the absolute velocity of water leaving the pump impeller, otherwise there will be separation losses. So, I mean pump efficiency cannot be increased beyond a particular beyond a point. Okay. But I mean the objective is that this casing help us to collect liquid and then help us to collect liquid from the impeller outlet, rather the liquid which is being discharged by the impeller, that is collected and then it is directed to the delivery pipe or outlet. So, this is done using the casing. So, not only it is used to convert energy, but also it is used to provide the path direction to which ultimately the discharge or the liquid delivered by the pump will go. Okay. So, next we will be discussing different pump efficiencies. So, I will be writing pump efficiencies. Okay. See, if you try to recall, when we have discussed about the Euler equation of pump, then we had introduced one efficiency, that is the hydraulic efficiency. If I can recall correctly, I also told that this efficiency is sometimes known as manometric efficiency. In different textbook, the hydraulic efficiency also is also written in, I mean in the form of manometric efficiency. So, the hydraulic efficiency and manometric efficiency, these two efficiencies are same. Okay. So, if we try to recall what is hydraulic efficiency. Or manometric efficiency. Just I would like to impose a question over here. Can you think why this efficiency is known as manometric efficiency? You have studied fluid mechanics. From your understanding, whatever you have learned from the basic fluid mechanics course, you should try to understand why this hydraulic efficiency is known as manometric efficiency. Okay. So, this hydraulic efficiency or manometric efficiency is defined as the ratio between actual head will be delivered by pump to the ideal head will be developed by the pump. Okay. So, this is what we have discussed. We know if we just go back to the Euler equation of pump, then the ideal head, that expression tells us about the head being developed by the pump, and that is the ideal head, right. So, the ideal head will be developed by the pump is the ideal again. So, this is not the actual. So, if we introduce this efficiency, we can understand efficiency cannot be 100% that we have learned from the thermodynamics course, right. So, it will be always less than 1. In that case, actual head developed by the pump will be always lesser than the ideal head. So, if we write that this is actual head and this is the ideal head, right. See, this ideal head is nothing but u2 c theta 2 by g, right. So, this ideal head is u2 c theta 2 by g if we ignore the inlet swirl, right. So, this ideal head equal to u2 c theta 2 minus u1 c theta 1 by g in absence of inlet swirl, then we can write this is the quantity, right. So, this is the hydraulic efficiency or ideal manometric efficiency. Okay. So, now if we go to the next one, that is, so if we go to the, so this is number 1, if we go to the next one, number 2, that is known as say mechanical efficiency. Okay. Just I will draw a line diagram or schematic diagram. So, this is pump. This pump is connected so this is shaft, this is shaft, common shaft, this is coupling. So, this pump is connected to this electric motor, and this electric motor is used to drive the pump, and this pump is now used to suck liquid from a reservoir and discharging liquid to another reservoir. So, this is reservoir 1, this is reservoir 2, right. This is the schematic diagram. You see, just if we go to the previous slide, you have seen that the ideal head will be developed by the pump will be less than the ideal actual head that will be developed by the pump will be always less than the ideal head, right. So, you can see if we need to supply water in this reservoir, then we need to overcome the static height plus the dynamic head, that is because of the fluid frictional losses, losses due to presence of bends, valves, etc. Okay. Now, what is mechanical efficiency? So, this pump is driven by this electric motor. Now, the energy supplied by this electric motor, that is the input energy. So, that means if we try to recall, in a pump we need to supply energy, input energy, and because of this input energy, that energy is to now I mean that is of course that is used to run this impeller, and because of this impeller rotation it does work on the fluid which is being handled by the pump, and it increases the stored energy of the fluid either in the form of velocity or rather I can say in the form of both pressure and velocity. Okay. So, you can see input energy to the pump, that should be the output energy of the electric motor, right. So, what I am telling, the power in the input power to the shaft of the pump is not equal to the power which is transmitted to the fluid handled by the pump. Try to understand. So, you forget about that if I consider that the output energy of the electric motor is given to the input energy, rather this is the input energy to the pump. Output energy of the electric motor is the input energy to the pump. If we forget about losses due to this coupling, obviously this output energy of the electric motor is not equal to the input energy to the pump because of this bearing and other shaft losses. But if we consider, even then the energy which is given to the shaft, right, of the pump, that energy is not getting converted into the equal amount of energy of the fluid. So, just as I said, it is used to increase the stored energy of the fluid. So, the energy supplied at the shaft of the pump is not equal to the energy transmitted by the pump to the fluid, and as a result of which we will having another efficiency that is known as mechanical efficiency. So, this is eta mechanical, that is power output divided by power input, right. So, this is power output divided by power input, right. See, this is not the complete. So, this is power output. So, power input to the shaft, right, and power output, this is not the case. So, if I try to write, this should be power output means, so this is not the power output, this should be power available at the impeller, right. So, maybe this impeller is mounted on a shaft. So, input energy to the shaft, if it is output power of the motor, if we consider, again I am telling output power of the motor should not be equal to the input power to the pump because of this kind of mechanical linkage and other things. But if we consider that power input to the shaft is the output power from the motor, but even then the input power to the shaft, so this impeller will be mounted on a shaft. So, input power to the shaft is given from the motor. Now, the power available at the impeller is not the power which is supplied to the shaft. Where is the losses? Now, what is the what are the sources, different sources of having this loss. So, basically input power is not equal to the power available at the impeller. So, what are the losses? Losses is bearing. So, basically I mean input power is given, but it is rotating. So, there will be bearing, gland, and also one important loss is known as disc friction loss. So, this impeller will be surrounded by a device, that is what we have been discussing for the we have discussed in the last lecture as well as in today's class, that it is surrounded by one mechanical device, that is the casing. Now, so we have identified that this input power to the shaft is not equal to the power available at the impeller, and so losses are there. So, losses due to mechanical bearing, thrust bearing, because again you should know that this impeller is mounted on a shaft and again bearing will be there. So, that bearing loss, frictional loss, and also bearing losses due to bearing, gland, and then disc friction. What is disc friction? You understand that the space between the impeller outer surface and the casing is filled up with liquid, right. So, impeller is rotating, but there will be a viscous friction between the fluid and the outer surface of the impeller as the fluid is confined between two mating surface. So, the impeller is rotating, and because of this rotation of the impeller, fluid also will rotate in this direction, and eventually it will come out from the pump and will go to the delivery pipe. But since this space is confined space, and as a result of which, even it is not the confined space, then the degree of losses will be different, but still at this point of time you should know that since this is confined space, the fluid which is occupying between this confined space, so viscous friction between the fluid which is occupying this place and the outer surface of the impeller, and that is the disc friction loss. So, accounting these losses, the power available at the impeller which will be now transmitted to the fluid, which is lesser than the power which is supplied to the shaft of the impeller, and that is why this mechanical efficiency is coming. Okay, fine. Now, we will go to discuss about another loss on another efficiency, that is known as volumetric efficiency. Okay. What is volumetric efficiency? Right. It is very important that when we install a pump to meet the demand, we know that the pump should be able to cater the required amount of fluid at a specified head. So, we install pump in a station to meet the demand in terms of discharge and head. Question is, the volume which will be discharged by the pump, say I am installing a particular pump here, let me draw the impeller. Right. So, this pump is rotating in this direction. So, liquid is coming in this path and following this path it is going out, okay. And this this part is connected to the delivery line and we will get the discharge. Question is, we know that from this pump we will get cube meter cube per second discharge against a head of h meter. So, these two quantities are very important to note, right. But it is true that some part of the, so this is the discharge Q, but some part of this quantity might not have been delivered by the pump. We know that while discharging Q meter cube per second by this pump, okay, we can presume that okay fine, using this pump we will get Q meter cube per second against a head of H meter, fine. While we are getting Q meter cube per second, we also need to consider that we also need to agree that some part of this discharge might not have been delivered by the pump because of the losses. So, these are the mechanical parts, mating components. So, they are connected together by packing, glands, etc. Now, when this water is coming out or any liquid is coming out from the pump to the delivery pipe, it is having high pressure, right, high energy in terms of both kinetic energy and pressure head. So, because of rather accounting this high energy, it is highly expected that some part of the discharge will leak out from the impeller, from the this connection. Then ultimately, if this pipe is going here and if we try to measure the flow rate here cube meter cube per second, if you are getting cube meter cube per second, so there are any joints, some part of the discharge will be, rather might not have been delivered by the pump, right. So, the ratio between actual flow rate to the ideal. So, ideally the pump should be able to deliver this quantity, but because of this leakage through casing, through joint, this delta QL amount might not have been delivered, and as a result of which, because of this difference between these two quantities in both in the denominator and numerator, we are getting this volumetric efficiency, right. So, the volumetric efficiency is nothing but the actual quantity discharged by the pump to the ideal quantity which is supposed to be delivered by the pump, right. Okay. Next is the overall efficiency. Fine. So, if you try to recall, till now we have discussed about hydraulic efficiency, then mechanical efficiency, and finally volumetric efficiency. Okay. So, these efficiencies we have discussed. Now, we have seen that if we go back to the previous slide, so this is known as eye of the impeller, right. So, the quantity which is entering to the eye of the impeller is Q plus delta QL, but the quantity which you are getting at the outlet is Q. So, these two quantities are not same. So, ratio between these two quantities is known as the volumetric efficiency. If we go back to the previous one, then power input to the shaft is not equal to the power available at the impeller to be transmitted to the fluid, right, and this is because of this bearing losses due to glands and also the disc friction loss. And if we go further back, then we see that the hydraulic efficiency, that is nothing but the actual head that will be developed by the pump to the ideal head. Why it is so? Because we have discussed this, I mean we have identified the sources of losses, that is because of this fluid friction, formation of eddies. Because of this, the ideal head will be always higher than the actual head, and that is true. So, now considering these three different efficiencies, we are now going to define overall efficiency. So, what is overall efficiency? see overall efficiency eta overall is nothing but again just I wrote in the context of definition of the mechanical efficiency, that we are giving power input to the pump. Power input to the pump, that is input power to drive the pump, and at the cost of this input power what is the power output. Now question is why the concept of overall efficiency is coming into the picture. So if we talk about hydraulic efficiency, mechanical efficiency and volumetric efficiency, so this efficiency is talking about the difference in the head being developed by the pump. This mechanical efficiency is talking about difference between the power at the available at the shaft of the impeller and power between the power available at the impeller and power supplied to the shaft, while the volumetric efficiency is again this is the difference between the discharge at the outlet to the discharge at the eye of the impeller, rather volume flow rate at the eye of the impeller. So the volume flow rate at the eye of the impeller is not getting discharged by the pump itself. So now considering these losses we can expect that whatever amount of power is given to the pump as the input energy, definitely a part will be lost accounting the losses which are there in these three efficiencies. Okay. So to describe these three efficiencies we have discussed, we have encountered different losses. Now to overcome these losses, definitely the input power, rather input energy which is given to the pump will not be equal to the output power, rather the energy which we are getting from the pump, and that is why this efficiency is coming, that is overall efficiency. Okay. So now question is, if we now write this overall efficiency eta overall, and that is output power P out divided by input power, say this is P in, right. So this is input power and this is output power. Can we write this efficiency in different form, right. So that should be our objective. Okay. So see, if I consider a particular pump is installed to supply meter cube per second discharge against a head of H meter, and rho is the density of the fluid. So these are the quantities, rho is the density of the fluid. Okay. So this is kg per meter cube. Okay. Now if we write output power, if the discharge at the outlet to the pump is Q, then and density is rho, then rho g cube H, this is the output power, definitely that we know. What is the input power? Say input power is pump is rotating at an angular velocity omega and torque is T. So that is T into omega, that is what we have seen from the discussion. If I can recall, that part we have discussed during the derivation of Euler equation of turbo machines. Okay. So now can I write these quantities, can we just rearrange to give a form that the overall efficiency can be written in terms of other three efficiencies, and that is what I was discussing, that the concept of overall efficiency is coming from the fact that there are losses. So there are many losses. So losses due to fluid friction, eddies formation, which is taken care by the hydraulic efficiency, which are taken care by the hydraulic efficiency, and then losses due to bearing, glands and disc friction, these losses are taken care by the mechanical efficiency, and then the leakage of the flow rate, I mean the volumetric flow rate which is available at the eye of the impeller is not equal to the discharge at the outlet. So, I mean there must be leakage of water or any fluid, and definitely as I told you, leakage through the casing, glands, I mean joining parts, etc. So, and that those that losses, I mean losses, I mean this flow rate loss is taken care by the volumetric efficiency. Now, question is, can I write this expression in terms of different quantities? So, see, I mean can I write this rho g h into this cube? This q mind it, this q is the q actual, right, divided by T into omega. This is not the ideal, because this is the q which we are getting at the outlet, right, because this is not the q which is available at the eye of the impeller. Okay. So, this is rho g h q actual by T omega. Now, can we write this in a bit different form, right? So, if we try to write it in different form, then it will help us to identify that this loss can be written in terms of different other efficiencies. Okay. So, again this is actual. So, let me write it when. So, this is H actual and this is cube actual, right, because that is why we are getting, because ultimately the output power will be measured based on the available head and available discharge. So, that is the actual head and actual discharge. So, rho g h actual into q actual. Okay. So, now we can split it, I mean like this, that I can write equal to H actual by H ideal, rather I will write, okay, right. So, we can write this H actual by H ideal into this H ideal I have taken at the bottom, then we can write this cube actual divided by cube. See, we know q actual, if we try to give this efficiency, overall efficiency, rather if we try to write this efficiency in terms of other efficiencies, then this would be q plus delta QL, right, and then it should be cube plus delta QL, right, divided by T into omega, right, T into omega. So, if we try to find out, this is T into omega, right, or P in, fine. So, that is the P in. Okay. Now, so that is what I can write, and H I should be multiplied over here, H ideal, right, then it is correct. So, you can see this overall efficiency, I think it is now correct. H actual by H ideal, I have taken H ideal over here and that is written over here. So, they will get they will cancel each other. Q actual divided by Q, this Q, and I have taken Q plus delta Q at the here. So, they will cancel each other, divided by T omega. So, what is H actual by H ideal? So, actual head delivered by the pump to the ideal head, that is nothing but the hydraulic efficiency. So, that is eta hydraulic. What is this quantity? This is the actual discharge from the pump to the volume flow rate available at the eye of the impeller, and that is nothing but the volumetric efficiency. And what about this? You can see this is the input power to the shaft of the impeller, while this is the power available at the impeller. So, this is nothing but eta mechanical, right. So, we can write that the overall efficiency can be written in terms of the sorry, again one term is missing, that is rho into g. So, that is into gamma. So, this rho into G is gamma. Okay. If I write rho into G gamma, then gamma into Q plus Q into plus delta QL into H ideal by T omega. So, this if I use different color now, so this quantity is the eta mechanical, this quantity this is eta volumetric, and definitely we are left with the first one, then this quantity is the eta hydraulic, right. So, hydraulic efficiency multiplied by the volumetric efficiency multiplied by the mechanical efficiency is the overall efficiency, right. So, the discussion on the introduction of overall efficiency is that there are losses, several losses. So, while we have identified different losses and we have introduced different efficiencies, why can't we introduce an overall efficiency, and that is what we have discussed here. So, that means mind it, this quantity is the mechanical efficiency. So, this is the input power to the shaft, while this is actually the power available at the impeller. So, at the eye of the impeller this much amount of flow rate is available. So, this is the power. If the pump, so pumps should ideally be able to supply this much amount of discharge against this much amount of head. So, then what is the power available at the impeller? This much, but because of the flow passage, losses in the flow passage, I mean between two consecutive blades due to formation of eddies, other losses, definitely this quantity will be reduced, this quantity will be reduced due to leakage, but still this is the amount of energy, the amount of power which is available at the impeller. Okay. So, what I would like to tell you that the overall efficiency of the pump can be written in terms of three different efficiencies, and that is what we have established, that overall efficiency is nothing but eta hydraulic into eta overall, eta volumetric into eta mechanical. So, this is very important to know, and this will be very much needed while you will be solving numerical problem. Okay. So, the topic of our today's discussion was the pump casing and different efficiencies. We have discussed about different types of casing, their the application of different types of casing, I mean rather particular application. Then we have also discussed about different types of pump efficiencies. Okay. So, with this I stop my discussion today, and we will continue our discussion in the next class. Thank you.